Alright team, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. So today I'm just going to be giving you a quick little run through of the rig I put together for Vexed. Vexed, a fairly new, they sort of started just before COVID, but yeah, fairly new metal band in the UK. They're sort of making, just put out their second album, making some waves and doing those sorts of things. If you're into groovy sort of metal stuff, go check them out. Let me know what you think. There might be a cup of tea, there might not be. But yeah, so this is the rig we put together for the most recent tour. And yeah, I'm going to give you a quick little walkthrough of sort of what's going on. But to back up a little bit, the brief for this tour was that we're going into some fairly small venues. So try and keep everything as compact as possible. And so that's where this little control surface comes in. This is the front of house package, just this little guy in a wooden box here with some faders on top. If you haven't seen my last video, I went in a bit more detail about how this works and what's going on here. But effectively you've got the system that I talked about in that last video paired with Vexed system that they brought with for their IMs, and together we've stuck it all in a box and tried to make it as simple as possible. So yeah, to take a look at what we've actually got here, we'll start from the bottom. Down here we've got an X32 rack. I'm sure you all know what this does. It's an X32 in a 3U thing, 4U thing, I don't know, however big that thing is. And it's got a bunch of I/O on the back of it, and it's a great all-in-one thing. On top of that we've got the 3 IM transmitters for Vexed. These are the Shure PSM 300 setup. And yeah, so they're currently running just off of the little twigs that come with them, which is totally adequate for the places we've been doing so far. Yeah, might get on pedals at some point soon. And then that sort of for the front of it, that is Vexed bit right there. The X32 rack is also running as their interface for the laptop, so all the tracks come through this. And currently they're split out of XLR outs on the back of this because we currently aren't talking AES between these two systems. So if we're looking at this, this is my side of things for front of house. So everything down here is just for the monitors, and then everything up here is for front of house. So we've got a M32C, which again, if you don't know, is just a one rack U version, kind of that. Same software and everything that's on that, but you don't have any XLR in or out or anything on it. It's just one U and some network connections basically on the back of it. Above that we have a Dante bridge, which is basically because I don't have a Dante card for this. If I did, I wouldn't need this, but I've got this and I don't have a Dante card, so this won't be here for long, but it's here currently. That's a Clark Technic DN9650 network bridge. And then above that, big blue guy, this is the input box for front of house. So this is where all of my I/O is, and we'll get a look at this around the back in a minute. But this is a Midas DL251. It's from the sort of Pro Series era. So it's the Pro Series preamps. It's designed at 96 or whatever that, 96K. But we clock it down to 48 to work with the M32C. So yeah, that's sort of all that's going on the front. There's also the little Wi-Fi thing for the band's X32 rack, so they can get on that and fiddle around and sound check on their phones. And that's actually being powered off of the USB port on the front of the X32 rack. I didn't think that would work, but that works absolutely fine, it seems. So if we take a look around the back, we'll get into a bit of how these two systems are joined together and what's going on. So first of all, around the back we've got a I/O panel that is basically, this is extra inputs that I don't use during the show, but I did use for the support band, Pulse, so that they could run in through this. And these are basically just patched through 8 channels into 8 of the channels on the big I/O box back there, the DL251. And again, those weren't necessary for my part of the show, but just so that we could run the support band into here on one of the shows where the in-house desk was, well, in the way basically for us to set up our front of house things. So we ran in through here, and yeah, that's got the network in that goes all the way to front of house through this 100-meter cable, all the way to just up there currently, but you get what that is. Power in, some extra power outs that are just sort of on here, and then although this says Wave Sound Grid, that's not doing Wave Sound Grid anymore. That's the PoE out to my access point that would connect to this. I don't have that on there at the moment, but yeah, you get the point. We also have the USB cable that goes down to the M32 rack down there, X32 rack, sorry, God, too many things. But yeah, so to actually sort of connect all this together, we start with the input box on stage. So this is a 15-meter cable, so it can be a bit far away from that, but this is, you know, put down next to the drum kit. You've got kick mic, snare mics, hat mic, 2 rack toms, 2 floor toms, ride, 2 overheads, Meg's main wide input for this run, guitar left, right, and bass. And then there's left, right currently coming out of there, and that's the output to the drummer's IMs. So that all comes through there, comes into the back of this box, and goes straight. We have the last 4 channels of in coming to this little splitter down here. This takes vocal in, guitar left and right, and bass, and splits it so that it can go both to the X32 rack and the M32 core. God, that's a lot of things, isn't it? And yeah, so that's how the band are listening to what they're playing on guitar, what they're playing on bass, what they're playing on vocals. The drums are not currently splitting because the drummer uses a Yamaha EAD thing to give himself a feed of what he needs to hear, so he's looking after that himself, so that's fine for now. But yeah, then all of the drum mics that are on here, they go straight up into the DL251 up there, straight in for me, and that all comes through. Yeah, this multi-core, this is disconnectable on both ends, so you know that bit just tucks back in there. You don't have to unplug any of this stuff. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. But yeah, the only other thing that you haven't seen back here, this is just the network switch that's doing my side of things. Again, if you're interested in how this box talks to this box, yeah, maybe go watch that other video that I made on it. But yeah, that's most of what's going on in here, and just allowing us to have a nice compact single box that's taking care of basically everything other than the guitar pedals, which are done on pedal boards at the moment, so they just plug straight into this. And then we just plug some mics into it, and show's ready to go. Speaking of mics, I know some of you care about that, so I thought I'd line up what we're using on this one. Shure Beta 91A, nice and simple kick-in mic, sounds great. For the kick out, this is an Audix D6. This specific one here actually died on this tour, so he's no longer working, rest in peace. But luckily I've just bought another one, so not the end of the world. Still a bit of a pain, but you know, happens. For the top of the snare, there's a Shure SM57 Beta, Beta 57, whatever you want to call it. You know, standard thing. Snare bottom is this little guy. It's a Audio-Technica ATM 450. It's actually a side addressed little condenser, so just sort of scooches under the snare and gives you a nice super crisp snare, snap, crackle and pop and all of that. For the hats, it's an Audio-Technica Pro 37. Sounds alright, just a little thing. Standard top mics, we've got the Sennheiser E604s, 3 of them. For 2 racks, 1 on the floors, and then the other floor tom is another D6. This one was still working last time I checked. Then after that, we've got ride mic, just a little Samson CO1 or CO2 or CO something, I don't know, it's taped over. It's a mic, pointing at the ride, sounds good. And then overheads with these guys, Audio-Technica AE3000s. Yeah, again, a really nice, so that's a large diaphragm capsule in there, but I mean, you can see in my hand there, a nice compact small mic, so they don't take up massive amounts of space, don't have a big cradle or any of that silly stuff on it. So yeah, I'm quite liking these Audio-Technica condensers, they're quite good. And then for the main vocal, we've switched over to SE V7s. This is basically the backup one, grey capsule on it, but we've also got one of the black top ones on, so that's the main one, this is the backup. And yeah, so those are the mics we're using. That's the rig. That's sort of what it all does. Any questions, feel free to let me know, ask me. There's yeah, a fair bit of weird stuff going on here, but I hope that all made sense to everyone. Basically the whole point is you just roll this thing in, plug in 3 things to that box, or 4 if you count the laptop, and then plug in some stuff there, ready to go. And yeah, actually worked really well. The first show we had with it was up in Scotland, and We hadn't actually tested it. I literally threw all this together like the day before we left and didn't test anything because where's the fun in that? Got up there, of course we were about an hour odd late because we'd driven all the way to Scotland that day. Plugged it all in and it just worked. So yeah, well chuffed with that. And yeah, one of the other things I took with me was just an extra set of tails. This is effectively what's sort of buried all in there, but that allowed for the support band pulse. When they were using the house desks, I could just disconnect here, give them this set of tails to plug into their I/O, and whack this box into them. So because they're sharing our drum shells, it made no sense for them to remic all the drums. So that allowed them to use all my mics and all the stage end of it, and just run into the house desk for that. So yeah, as I say, any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, that's Vexed for 2023. It'll be doing something different in 2024, I'm sure. Yeah, cheers guys. See you soon.